My name is Nanyonjo Anrita. I am presenting an assessment of end-user traits and physicochemical qualities of cassava flour, a case of Zombo district in Uganda. These are the authors who have contributed to this work, which was also published in the RTBfoods special issue. Cassava roots are bulky and perishable, thus men and women process them in longer-lasting forms such as flour. Indeed, processing of cassava roots into flour reduces hydrogen cyanide content, which if present in high concentration is not safe for human consumption. However, the cassava breeding program in Uganda has not been selecting cassava clones based on cassava flour making quality. Thus, in this study, we describe the end-user trait preferences related to cassava flour, the processing qualities and physicochemical properties of cassava. The approach which was used involved conducting a survey where the trait preferences of men and women were documented. We established an experiment in Zombo to obtain the cassava roots. We evaluated cassava clones for their processing qualities related to the thick paste, commonly known as corn in this region. We evaluated clones for their physicochemical properties, and this evaluation was done on fresh root cassava starch, sun-dried flour, and heap fermented flour. From the study, we found that cassava is majorly processed into flour by heap fermentation, which process is a social norm in this region and which is also believed to improve the organoleptic properties of flour. Heap fermentation or processing of cassava into flour by this process involves majorly 5 steps, that is peeling, sun-drying, heap fermentation, cleaning, and pounding. We found that color of flour, the texture of flour, ease of mixing the flour, good water holding capacity, and stickiness of corn, which is a product done or processed from heap fermented flour, were key attributes. These attributes were preferred by more women compared to men. Indeed, this is true because when you think about them, these attributes are related to processing food, which is corn. Thus, women were more knowledgeable of the attributes related to flour. However, we also found some attributes such as weight of flour and dry matter of flour, which were preferred by more men compared to women. And if you think about these are related to the market, which is the domain for men. From the processing evaluation, we noted that ease of peeling and stickiness of corn were key attributes. We found from the RVA profiling that the heap fermented cassava flour samples had lower peak, final, and breakdown viscosities compared to the sun-dried flour samples. We also found that the sun-dried flour samples had a characteristic profile of the RVA where you see a visible breakdown, which was not the case with the heap fermented flour samples. Also, we noted that Nyacharitas is a clone that had high values for peak, final, and trough viscosities. And also, these clone Nyacharitas had high ability to form a thick paste in the RVA. We found that fresh root cassava starch had higher values for amylose content compared to the heap fermented flour samples. And we postulate that this could be attributed to the degradation of some of the starch in the heap fermented flour samples during heap fermentation by the lactic acid bacteria, which are key microbes in the process. We concluded that men and women differ in their trait preferences related to cassava flour. Also, the physicochemical properties, notably the paste properties, exhibited a strong association with stickiness of corn, which was a key attribute during processing. And such information can guide the plant breeders in developing of protocols which can be used to make selection of clones for attributes related to quality of cassava flour. This work has been published in the International Journal of Food Science and Technology under the RTBfoods special issue. And this is the link to the article. Thank you.